Hello everyone, bonjour tout le monde. Welcome to EFA210, where the eyes are the windows to a humane society that are being replaced by soulless devices. And before I get into that, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe, like, click on the bell, ask those you love and respect. Let's get into it. The eyes are the windows to a humane society. It has all this time itself, right? Humanity, DNA, progress, evolution, call it what you want. But the eyes have always been connected to the soul. And the eyes are also the windows to a humane society. And I say they are being replaced by soulless devices. The toxic words that have empowered the morons in the last several years with the electronic devices. And let's get into this, and I'm going to talk about the moron and be a little bit more politically correct. Have you not noticed it? Or is that something you prefer? Is that new world filled with morons, is that what you prefer going forward through evolution of time, right? Moron, and I'm going to base myself here on the Merriam-Webster that was back in 1828. So they've earned their right to be on there as a dictionary definition, right? So the Merriam-Webster dictionary says moron is a foolish or stupid person. So let's be politically correct here and let's stick to foolish, right? Mainstream is defined as a prevailing current or direction of activity or influence. Let's keep going. We live in a society now that we have individuals globally on social media, on whatever realms that we live in, that cannot do what you do. They cannot provide like you provide, and they do not donate like you donate. And I'm talking time, I'm talking labor, I'm talking resources, I'm talking money, right? So I'm talking all different. You don't need to give money, but you can give time and resources and so on and so forth, right? But they can sure talk. They can't do what you do, they can't provide like you provide, they can't donate like you donate, but they can sure talk. Or better yet, they like pounding their chest with meaningless words, hiding behind their screens. In all, we have empowered the morons. Incrementational disconnect. Through time, through our societies now, with the electronic devices and the screens and the evolution of the screens that everybody has one in their hands, right? We have an incrementational disconnect. And again, if you haven't noticed it, maybe it's something you enjoy, right? So over time, combined with the COVID year one, so we have COVID year one behind us now, through isolation restriction, that incrementational disconnect has regressed even more. We have gone backwards even more now with the evolution of humanity being the windows to a humane society. If you do not agree with mainstream anything, we live in a society now that if you do not agree with mainstream anything, and remember, mainstream is a prevailing current or direction of activity or influence. So if you don't agree, whether it's an influence or a direction of activity or a prevailing current, if you don't agree with any of that, you're labeled, going back to the morons, right? So what happens then? From the regressions, well, you're called an extremist, you're called a racist, you're called a right or left wing, you're called a conspiracy theorist, and you can go on here. Freedom of speech. Is it only freedom of speech if you agree with the speech? Right? Because if you don't agree with the speech, and if you don't agree with the prevailing current or direction or influence, right, you are automatically labeled. Am I not correct? Have we not empowered the morons now that you can't even have an intellectual conversation, a back and forth? And I do a lot of writing. I love writing. I love the expressing a creative mind, and I love getting into conversations, an exchange of conversation, an exchange of critical and intellectual thinking, backed by data, facts, and research, and truth, right? Basic truth. So when you try to get into that, if they don't agree with you, this is where the words come out. This is where the slamming, this is where the name calling, like the kindergarten starts coming out of you adults and human beings, right? The name calling starts coming out. Why? Because they don't have substance. They do not have the intellect, and they do not have the critical thinking. Hence, we have empowered the moron to where we are today with words of disrespectful, hateful meanings come out, and they start attacking because you don't agree with the mainstream current or influence, right? So let's go back to being foolish here. We made the morons even more foolish, right? I'm going to close this off here because I talk to my daughters all the time by working on love, trust, respect, and loyalty. That's what I work off of. And I do my very, and I'm 55 years old and I still rebalance myself and I still put myself in check and I still kick myself in the ass because sometimes I'll deviate from that and I reposition myself and I narrow my lane again, right? So love, trust, respect, and loyalty. If you follow those 4 principles in life, where can you go wrong? You can readjust, but if you follow those principles and follow truth, right? And not and intellectual words and critical thinking and facts and data and research, how can you go wrong? Listening to understand and asking questions. And I tell this to my daughters, and I still do it to this day, where I learned to shut up. I learned to be quiet. I learned to listen to understand and ask questions. That's how you get to learn. We have individuals here that cannot give what you give, cannot provide what you provide. They don't donate like you donate, but they have all the answers, but they know nothing. They truly don't know nothing. They cannot do what you do, but they tell you what to do and how to do it. That's the society that we're in now. There used to be a time, the lifestyle that I live today, there used to be a time in the early 1900s, that kind of stuff, where the direction was changed. The mainstream was changed. The influence was that my lifestyle, that I've lost 110 pounds, that basically, if you look at it, it's Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, diabetes, everything that depresses or decresses, just lowers to nothing, right? And or the minimization of opiates and pharmaceuticals and alcoholism and so forth, all this dissipates and disappears. But there was a time in our history on this earth, throughout cultures, throughout history, that my lifestyle, you're made out to be a quack if you weren't following the mainstream, which is the systems of medicine, right? If you don't follow the mainstream of medicine and you do what I do, you were known as a quack. But now, because of social media, which is good things about social media, and you heard me talk about this on previous EFAs, social media is a good tool. It's a tool, right? And that's what it is. To use a tool properly, you can use a hammer to build or you can use a hammer to destroy it. You use it properly, right? That is a tool. Sharing information is a good tool, but proper information, without hateful words, without disrespectful words, back with critical thinking, back with intellectual thinking, with data and research and so on and so forth. Jean-Guy Bourguignon, EFA210, the eyes are the windows to a humane society. Start using them. Thank you. Merci. Gracias and grazie.